We are the Gujarat Technological University. Since its inception over a decade ago, GTU has been empowering young and curating minds to realize their true potential. Over 4 lakh inspired students are enrolled with one of the premier academic universities in India. With more than 450 affiliated colleges in its fold operating across 5 zones of the state, GTU, the International Innovative University, your place to move forward.
Hello everyone, welcome back to online lecture series on refrigeration and air conditioning. We will continue with our topic of psychrometry. So let's begin. So we will have some revision of our previous lecture. I gave you one topic of self-study and I hope that you are done with this right now. Then we studied about psychrometric chart in detail, then important features of psychrometric chart, then various processes on psychrometric chart. First was sensible cooling. Then second was sensible heating. We derived formulas for that also. Then we studied about bypass factor, which is related to the performance of heating or cooling. Then the next topic was mixing of air streams, and we also derived the formula. Then next was humidification and dehumidification. That was our last topic of our previous lecture. So let's begin with cooling and dehumidification, which is 6th process in our list. So in cooling and dehumidification process, both temperature and relative humidity of moist air are decreased, and the relative humidity of air is increased during this process. Its application is in summer air conditioning to cool and dehumidify the moist air. So first we will understand this with a figure. So first of all we will draw the arrangement for this, in which here This will be the arrangement, and now we will have the cooling arrangement for this. Here this will be our cooling arrangement. So this will be our refrigerant. Here we will have refrigerant. Okay, this will be our refrigerant. Then here we will have our hot air which is entering the system. And at the exit it will get cooled down, as this is the cooling process. As far as the temperatures are concerned, this will be here air in at TD1 temperature, and here air out at TD2 temperature. And here this refrigerant is kept at TD3 temperature. So I hope that you have understood this image. Now what is going to happen here is here the moist air is cooled below its dew point temperature by bringing it in contact with a cold surface. So here this will be in this figure. This refrigerant will be kept below dew point, below dew point temperature of air. So once this air comes in contact with this refrigerant coil, then the moisture which is present, or water vapor which is present inside this air, will get condensed and it will be in liquid form. So that condensate will be gathered here. So the water vapor which was present inside this air will get condensed. So because this is below dew point temperature, so that's why it will get condensed, and here it is getting dehumidified. That's why this process is cooling as well as dehumidification process. So this will be called, the yellow portion is called condensate. Okay, so this is the arrangement for cooling and dehumidification. So now we can take this figure. So this is the arrangement. Now we can continue with this. When the moist air is cooled below its dew point temperature by bringing it in a contact with a cold surface, some of water vapor in air will condense and leaves the air stream as a liquid. As a result of both temperature and humidity ratio decreases. Now we will go into energy balance. So first of all, we will draw this process on psychrometric chart. So now as you know now very well that here this horizontal axis is for the dew point dry bulb temperature and the vertical axis is for the specific humidity. Now as you are aware that here the process that should go will be cooling and dehumidification, so it should go in this direction. So let us denote this as this color. So here this will be our initial point. So this will be point number 1. And this will be our point number 2, and the direction will be this. So now we can also draw the enthalpy lines. So here this will be our scale for enthalpy. Now here this will be H1 and here this will be shown as H2. We should also show the point number 3 in this case, which will be taken here. Let us say this will be point number, this will be our point number 3. I will explain you this part again, that why point number 3 is here. So the process will happen in this way, and the enthalpy portion will be like this, and this will be called as H3. So we can copy this now. Or we can still put some nomenclature here. This will be TD2, and here this will be TD1. This will be W1, and this will be W2. That is the specific humidity. Now we can take this So here if you focus on this formula, then the energy balance in which MH1, you see this is the entering portion. If you see this figure, then this mass is entering with enthalpy H1, and it is equal to MH2. MH2, that is the exit air. MH2 is the exit air, that is enthalpy of exit air into mass. And at the same time, here QC is what? Total heat absorbed by the cooling coil. So some air some heat will get absorbed by this cooling coil. Okay, so this is also taken from the inlet of mass. And then the third is MWH3. What is this portion? This is the mass of water which is being condensed, that is MWH3. And mass balance of water vapor. Now we are focusing on water vapor. So initially it was MW1, which was initial part. Here it was MW1. This will be MW2, that is after reduced specific enthalpy, plus it is having MW, that is the mass of water vapor which is condensed. That is here this yellow portion. So it is very basic kind of mass conservation law, that the water vapor content here is equal to water vapor content here plus the water which is being condensed. So this is a very straightforward equation. Okay, so next heat removed by cooling coil, which is QC, that will be equal to M into H1 minus H2, that is the portion due to the air, and this M into W1 minus W2 into H3, which is due to the condensation portion. The next is the second term, heat carried by the condensate is very small and it can be neglected. So QC will be equal to only M into H1 minus H2, that is the air entry minus air exit, enthalpy difference between air entry and air exit. Then Q can be written as TH. TH stands for total heat, which is equal to M H1 minus H3 plus M H3 minus H2. From where this equation has arrived? See, here we have added in this equation plus MH3 minus MH3. So we have added and subtracted MH3 term, and then we have arranged the same in this way. So what we have done here is we have actually tried to divide this, to separate this yellow process into two orange processes. Okay, so now as you can see that we have gone from 1 to 3 and 3 to 2. So if you focus on this figure, then 1 to 3 is purely a sensible part, in which, sorry, purely a latent part in which temperature is not getting changed from 1 to 3, and 3 to 2 is purely a sensible process, that is sensible cooling, in which the specific enthalpy is remaining constant. So we have divided this cooling and dehumidification process into pure dehumidification and a pure sensible cooling. So as you can see here that first term is written as latent heat and second term is written as sensible heat. So latent heat is m H1 minus H3, which is equal to m W1 minus W2 into HFG. That is the latent heat removed due to the condensation of water vapor during the dehumidification process, and sensible portion is m into H3 minus H2, which is equal to mCp delta T. That is the sensible heat removed due to the cooling process 3 to 2. Now the one factor we need to study is sensible heat factor. It is the ratio of sensible heat to the total heat during the process. So it is shown with this SH upon TH. TH can also be written as summation of sensible heat plus latent heat, and the same can be written in terms of enthalpy difference, and the same can be seen from this figure also. And then here we have done something very different here, that we have taken this term 1 minus SHF divided by SHF, and then we have done some mathematical work. So the final answer of this term is coming as LH upon SH, that is latent heat divided by sensible heat. So what we have done, that our pure sensible heat formula was only sensible heat divided by total heat. However, this term 1 minus SHF upon SHF will give us the ratio of latent heat to the sensible heat. I suggest you to pause this video and try this out by yourself, and you will definitely arrive to LH upon SH. And then LH is what? M into W1 minus W2 into HFG, that is from our previous slide, divided by sensible heat, which is equal to mCp delta T, that is delta T here is TD1 minus TD2, and then we are getting this formula. So if we make this as a subject, that is W1 minus W2 divided by TD1 minus TD2 like this, then it will be combination of sensible heat factor, CPM and HFG. So we will see that why this formula is important in our theory, that it is actually the slope. It is actually the slope of cooling and dehumidification line on the psychrometric chart. So this will be the slope. Why this is slope? Because if you see, W is always on the y-axis in psychrometric chart and dry bulb temperature is on the x-axis of the chart. So this ratio is something like delta y upon delta x. So this has to be the slope of the line of cooling and dehumidification. and it will be given by this. Now if you focus carefully here, that CPM will always remain constant being a specific heat, and HFG will also remain constant being a latent heat. So this slope only depends on the sensible heat factor, because the remaining two terms in the bracket are constant. So this slope will remain, this slope will only depend on the sensible heat factor. Okay, and it will be given by tan alpha, where alpha is the angle. Now if we go back into our figure, then the alpha this is going to be our angle of alpha. So this will be alpha, that is this angle. So if you see, tan alpha will be W1 minus W2 divided by TD2 minus TD1, TD1 minus TD2. Okay, so now before going into this new topic, we will again go back into our psychrometric chart. So if you see, one thing I want to explain you here is this yellow bar, which shows us the sensible heat factor. So as I was telling you that the slope of cooling and dehumidification line purely depends only on sensible heat factor. So we can use this sensible heat factor to draw a psychrometric process if we are aware of the initial condition of moist air and the sensible heat factor. So we will take one example of this. So we will erase few things here. So let us say that we are given a sensible heat factor line here. And here some markings are given. So this was our sensible heat factor bar. So you will always be given a reference point in a psychrometric chart. So let us say that this is our reference point. And if you are given a sensible heat factor, so from this pointer you can draw a line denoting, indicating that it is for the given sensible heat factor. So let us say that you are given a sensible heat factor of 0.7. Then with a reference point you can draw this line. And now let us say that your original point or the initial condition of your process is, let us say, 0.1. So what you can do is you can draw a line. You can draw a line parallel to this reference line, and this will be your point number 2. To reiterate, let us say that you are given two things, that is the initial condition of your moist air and the sensible heat factor, which is in this case 0.7. So what you will do first, that through this bar you will, and through this bar and a reference point, you will draw this green line which will indicate the sensible heat factor of 0.7, and you will point out the initial condition of your moist air, and parallel to this green line you can draw this red line which will give you the entire cooling and dehumidification process. Okay, so that was the only thing. Now we will go back into our new part, which is apparatus dew point temperature. So it is an effective surface temperature of cooling coil. It can be considered as a temperature to which air that contacts the surface is cooled. In ideal situation, all air comes in perfect contact with cooling surface. That will be bypass factor will be 0. The exit temperature of air will be same as dew point temperature of the coil, and air is saturated. So here in this figure, let us say our process is like this, that is, this is 0.1 and this is 0.1 and this is point number 2. Then if we keep on continuing on this, then we will arrive, somewhere we will touch this, and this will be our A D apparatus dew point temperature. So this is effective surface temperature of cooling coil, and in ideal condition the exit temperature will be equal to apparatus dew point, which is, let us say, it indicate with point number 3. So here this in ideal situation from point 1 we should reach up to point 3. However, in real conditions bypass factor is always present, so we can cool this only up to point number 2. So whenever you need to indicate the apparatus dew point, you can simply extend your given process till it touches the saturation curve, and this will be your apparatus dew point temperature. So here, if you recall our bypass factor, then instead of ADP we were writing down TD3, which was the cooling coil temperature. So if cooling coil temperature is apparatus dew point temperature, then it will provide us effective cooling. Okay. Now the next is adiabatic saturation or evaporative cooling, in which we will have cooling and humidification. So first of all we will draw a figure for this. So here we will have something different arrangement. Like this. So this is actually water arrangement, and at the top we will have sprays. So as you can see that here, as usual, the air will come here, air is exiting, here we are observing the condensate, and actually this will not be condensate, it will be the water particles which are coming below. This is not condensate, so we need to erase this. And from here we will be providing makeup water. So what is going to happen here is these are going to be our spray nozzles. So this will be the arrangement in this case, and now we can copy this. So this will be our arrangement. To reiterate, what is going to happen here, that our objective is cooling and dehumidification. So air is entering here and it is exiting here, and in between that we are providing water spray through this nozzle, and here as the spray water particles are through the spray, they will get evaporated and it will be taken away with the air, and remaining water will go back here and it will be pumped. This is pump, okay, and it will be pumped back through this spray, pumped back to the spray. So air temperature drops and humidity increases, as our objective is cooling and humidification. So liquid water is injected and sprayed into the flowing air stream with the help of nozzles. Some of sprayed water particles will get evaporated, which increases the water vapor content of air. The condition of leaving air will change depend on the amount of water evaporates. That if more amount of water evaporates, then the temperature will go further down and specific humidity will also increase if the quantity of water which evaporates is higher. Then the important part is the temperature of water should be lower than the dry bulb, should be lower than dBT of air and higher than the dew point temperature of air to avoid condensation. So we need to understand this in detail, that the temperature of water should be lower than the dry bulb temperature of water should be lower than the dry bulb temperature of air. Because why? Because this is happening because here our objective is cooling of air. So this temperature of water should be lower than the dry bulb temperature of air TD1. Then it will try to cool this air. Second thing, here that it should be higher than the dew point temperature of air, because if it is lower than dew point temperature, then condensation will start from the air itself, so it will go into a reverse mode. So it should be higher than its dew point temperature to avoid the condensation. Now during this process, the heat required to evaporate the water, as water spray is in liquid form, so the heat which is required to evaporate this water is taken from the air. That is, the sensible heat of air is absorbed by the water. That's why the air is being cooled. To repeat again, here water particles are there through this spray, so they has to get evaporated and they require latent heat of evaporation that will be taken from this air at TD1. So sensible heat will be taken from the air to gain in the latent heat. So sensible cooling is happening here, and the same evaporated water with its latent heat is being added. The same evaporated water with its latent heat is being added in the air, so latent heat transfer from water to air. So here two things are happening. That first, that the air is losing its sensible heat and it is giving it to the water to get converted into vapor, and the same latent heat is being added into this air, because this water vapor is obviously ultimately is going to be part of this air. So the latent heat is again added into this air to be a mixture of air and moisture or water vapor. So the total heat depends on the water temperature. So we will see this. So here we will see the three cases. Our first case is temperature of water sprayed, that is TD3, is equal to wet bulb temperature of air. The net heat transfer rate will be 0, as the sensible heat transfer from the air to the water will be equal to the latent heat transfer from the water to the air. So we will try to understand this with a figure. So we will erase few things. So let us say that our beginning point is this, and we will denote this as point number 1. Now let us say that the temperature of so let us say that we are considering this case right now, which is our case number 1, and this will be our point number 2. So we are it should be point number 3. So this is the temperature of spray of water. So it is equal to the wet bulb temperature of air. That is, this indicates the wet bulb temperature. So, and we will be in position to reach up to, let us say, point number 2. That is, let me denote the point number 2 at this point. So this will be our point number 2. Okay, and here this will be our TD TD1. Here we will have TD2, and the last will be TD3. Here we will have W3, this will be our W2, and this will be our W1. Okay, now this is our first case in which we are going from 1 to 2 with keeping the temperature of water spray as the wet bulb temperature. Okay, so this is the case that we are having, and this will be our adiabatic saturation. As I was telling you that if the temperature of spray water spray is equal to wet bulb temperature, so this liquid phase water will immediately start evaporating into this air. So the sensible heat which is being lost by this air is actually given to the latent heat to get evaporated for this water, as this is at wet bulb temperature and ready to get evaporated. So this both sensible heat will be equal to the latent heat, and ultimately this latent heat is going back into the air. So that's why the net heat transfer will be 0 in this case. So we are observing here in this case that the net heat transfer rate will be 0, as sensible heat from air to water will be equal to the latent heat transfer from water to the air, because this water vapor is being added into the air. Now the second case is temperature of water vapor sprayed TD3 is greater than the wet bulb temperature of air. That is, we will take another case now, that let us say our case number 2 is from here till here, and let us indicate this as 3 double prime, and our exit point of air will be, let us say here, which is denoted as 2 double prime. So we are currently on discussion of this point number 2 double prime, and our process is this. So as you can see that the temperature of spray is greater than the wet bulb temperature of moist air at the inlet. So this is the case number 2, which is denoted as 122 prime. So in this case, what is going to happen? That there will be a net heat transfer from water to air. Okay, because the liquid water is at greater temperature, so first it will get cooled down. So this heat is going into the air, which is denoted as 133 prime. Now we will take a third case in which temperature of water sprayed is less than the wet bulb temperature of air. So in this figure, let us denote this process by this way. This will be our 3 prime, and this will be 2 prime. Okay, so let us say that this is at this point. Okay, so what will happen in this case, that here there will be a net transfer of heat from air to water, as the water spray is at lower temperature than the wet bulb temperature of air. So we have seen all 3 cases here, and now we can copy this figure. So in adiabatic saturation, the system is perfectly insulated and makeup water is supplied at wet bulb temperature. So we will focus on case number 1 here, that we will supply the makeup water only at wet bulb temperature. The spray water is neither heated nor it is cooled. So wet bulb temperature and enthalpy of air remains constant. Now in perfect humidification, the final condition of air is saturated. However, perfect humidification is not possible in real life, so we can get only final condition of air as point number 2. So to explain this point here, our ultimate objective is to get up to point number 3. However, the humidification is not perfect, so we will not be able to reach from 1 to point 3. We will only be able to reach from 1 to point number 2, as the sensible heat factor also comes into the picture. So now the effectiveness or humidifying efficiency of spray chamber is given by this formula, that is, see, the ideal one should be TD1 minus TD3. If you see in the figure, then from 1 to 3 is the ideal process. So in efficiency, ideal process comes into the denominator and the real process is 1 to 2, which comes in the numerator. So here now you can easily understand this formula, that it is given by this formula, and the same can be written in the terms of specific humidity. The evaporative cooling is economical as well as effective in hot dry climate, where cooler humid condition is more desirable than dry hot condition. That's why evaporative cooling is also called as desert cooling. Now heating and humidification. both temperature and specific humidity will increase. The final relative humidity of air is decreased during this process, and its application is in winter air conditioning to heat and humidify the probable dry air. First, we will see a case in which we will injecting the saturated steam. So we will draw a figure for this. So we will erase this part. So this will be our spray of steam. So we can put this as a this will be our steam. Okay, now the same thing will happen here, that air is entering, the steam is injected here through a spray. These are steam injection nozzles. So we can write down, this will be our steam supply. This will be our steam supply, and these are steam injecting nozzles. Okay, so it is quite easy to understand that here this saturated steam will be sprayed here, so this air will get heated as well as it will also get humidified. So we can copy this figure. So this will be our figure, and now we will also understand this process on psychrometric chart. So as it is heating and humidification, we can draw a line of a positive slope. And this will be our point number 1. This will be our point number 1. this will be our point number 2. And we can, as we have done previously, we can mention one another point, which will be, let us say, in between point number 3 and this will be point number 3. And here this will be the direction, will be like this. So we have divided this heating and humidification process into sensible heating, that is pure sensible heating process, and second is the pure humidification process. So here we can also write down the nomenclature, that this will be TD1 and second will be, this will be our TD2. Here we will have W1 and also here we will have W2. Okay, now we can also draw the enthalpy lines. So this will be our enthalpy lines, and here we will have this will be H2, this will be H3, and the last one is H1. So we can copy this now. Now we can copy this. So this is the psychrometric process for this. Now applying mass balance, so MW is M of W2 minus W1, that is the water vapor which is being added. Second is applying energy balance, in which QH is equal to M into H2 minus H1, which is MW into HS. So sensible heat factor is given by H3 minus H1 upon H2 minus H1. So we are done with this. So if you see H3 minus H1, H3 minus H1 is purely a sensible heat portion, and as our sensible heat factor definition is sensible heat divided by total heat. So this will be the sensible portion, and H2 minus H1 will be total portion. So that's why this formula is coming. Okay, now we will move forward with our next theory, that is the second portion of this, that is by applying sensible heat with spraying of water. So two things we are going to do, that first will be supplying sensible heat to the air, and second will be spraying the water at WBT, resulting in evaporative cooling. So we will first draw arrangement for this. So we will make some modifications in this figure. So now the direction of spraying has changed, and here instead of this supply, here there will not be a stream. Instead this will be water supply, and here we will have water injecting nozzles. Okay, and one thing which we are going to add in this is the heater will be added over here like this. So two things are separate now. Heating is done here and humidification will be done here. So we can write down this portion will be humidification. Sorry, this has to be heater. Okay, so this will be our arrangement. So we can copy this. I think we don't have a space here, so we will add so this will be the arrangement. And now we will also go through the psychrometric chart, psychrometric process. So first we will erase this portion. So first is sensible heating part. So let us draw this process. This will be our sensible heating portion, and then we are having evaporative cooling. That is, the water is being evaporated here, and this latent heat is taken from this cooling air, this air. So the air is getting cooled and the water is being evaporated. So it has to be cooling as well as the humidification process. So let us draw this process also here. So let us say that this is that process which is happening through the water spray. Okay, so here if you see in previous theory, okay, first of all we will give the nomenclature first. This will be process point 1, this will be point number 2, sorry, it has to be point number 3, and here this is process 2. So if you recall our previous theory, in our previous theory we were directly going from 1 to 2, that is this red color portion. Now here what is happening, that we are going through a longer route. That is, we first go from 1 to 3, that is through this heater, and then we are going through the water spray. So we could have reached directly from 1 to 2 through our previous theory. So this is the second way that we can do this heating and humidification. Okay, now I need to draw the directions of the process. So this way we can go, then this way we can reach the final condition, or the direct route was 1 to 2. So if you see, as what we are going to do is we are going to keep this temperature of water spray as WBT of the air. So when we draw the enthalpy lines, then they will be from here and here it will be up to this. Okay, so this will be here, this will be H1, and the next this will be H2 equal to H3. Okay, so we can copy this figure now. So the heat supplied through sensible heating is given by QH, that is equal to M into H3 minus H1, that is the horizontal process. Second is the applying the energy balance for process 322, which is actually the cooling and humidification process, in which the enthalpy is remaining constant as we are keeping the temperature of water as the wet bulb temperature of the air. As I have written that the water temperature is same as WBT, so mass of water required to spray is MW is equal to M into W2 minus W3. Now we are into our last topic, which is chemical dehumidification. So it is quite easy process. We will very quickly go through this. We will draw arrangement for this. So we will have a chemical here, So like this we will be having some chemical in between, chemical material here like this, which will dehumidify the air. So we can copy this figure. So here this will be chemical. Okay, we can copy this. And as far as the process on psychrometric chart is concerned, here we can erase this. So as it is dehumidification process, it will be like this, and its temperature will get increased here. That is initially it was TD1, here it is TD1, then here it is TD2, then we are having here W1 and here W2. As our process is dehumidification, we will have this as 0.1 and this as 0.2, and the direction of the process is this. And if you wish to show this on an enthalpy line, then it will be constant. And here this will be our constant enthalpy line. So what we can indicate here is, during this process H1 is equal to H2. So we can copy this now. So air is passed over chemicals which have high affinity for moisture. So these chemicals can absorb the moisture very easily. So when air comes in contact with these chemicals, moisture gets condensed out of this air and gives up its latent heat, and air is heated with the dehumidification process. If the process is thermally isolated, then this is thermodynamically reverse of adiabatic saturation. So if you go back and see adiabatic saturation, then this is completely a reverse process of adiabatic saturation. The WBT and enthalpy of air remains constant. As a result of this, temperature of air increases and as its moisture content gets decreased. It is used for industrial air conditioning. So here this is the end of psychrometry and psychrometric terms. I hope that it was fun in learning these psychrometric processes through these videos. So in our next lecture we will begin with another chapter of refrigeration and air conditioning. If you have any form of queries, you can put it in comments, and I will suggest you to go through the numericals of these chapters also by yourself. Thank you so much.